I'd like to introduce our schools that are participating in this knockout round of the IBS school debate. Firstly, for the topic, street vending should be controlled, please make welcome the DeLaSalle Secondary School. And DeLaSalle Secondary School has in its team Sid Pepson, Ciaro Nova, Alexander Lee, and David Allen. They are the members from DeLaSalle. And the team that is going against the topic, street vending should be controlled, is Kwikila Secondary. And the team members are Kasi Uda, Diga Tau, Lydia Eves, and Angelina Orea. And they are new participants from Kwikila Secondary School. Now, surprisingly, you can see that they've come up with the IBS National Debate Competition seal. Now, this is the national seal that was won last year. What the team is going to do now is going to present that back to the institute, to the school debate team. So I'd like to call upon the debate coordinator, Ms. Vani Davis, to come up and receive the shield. They've looked after it very well, and they've got their name on the first shield there. And that's the team, the winning team from the 2010 IBS National School Debate. Now I'd like to call the first speaker from DeLaSalle School, Secondary School, Sid Pepson.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, audience. Good afternoon, judicial, and good afternoon to you, the Kwikila Secondary. Before I proceed on, I would like to thank IBS for making this initiative for us students to come up here and gain confidence in the public. Okay, before I proceed on, I would like to introduce my team, DeLaSalle, going for the topic, should street vending control? I will be the first speaker, Sio Papsen, who's going to talk about the political aspect, and the second speaker, Ciaro, who's going to talk about the economical aspect, and the third speaker is Alexander Lee, who's going to speak about the social aspect, and the last speaker is David Allen, who's gonna summarize everything and make recommendations. Firstly, to begin, I would like to define the term street vending. You may all wonder what street vending. So before I proceed on, I would like to define the term street vending and the phrase should be controlled. Definition for street vending is an informal way of doing business by unemployed people, and the phrase should be controlled is to guide, not to deprive the rights of the people, but to guide. This brings me to the first point. First point, freedom. Freedom is limited. No such thing as excess freedom. If you go to other countries in the world, you will see there is no freedom, there is no excess freedom for the public or the people. That all the freedom, the government has the right to control every citizen of their own country. Secondly, I would like to make known to you one of the quote that the Australian commissioner 2 weeks ago came to our school and talked to us, Mr. Ian Kemis. He said, your country, Papua New Guinea, is changing rapidly for the past 10 years, and still it is changing. And in order for us to go with the change, we need to control and have order for the people of this nation. Thirdly, our country, as you all know, our country is a developing nation. And so, if we want to be a wise, happy, and smarter nation by 2050, we need to control our people in order to change their mindset of our people to achieve that goal, which the government has set. The next point, government have many plans for the Papua New Guineans or the children, Papua New Guinea children, but who's gonna implement it if we do not control the street vending? Who's gonna implement it? It's come back to those people who are roaming around the streets and selling street vending in the streets of Port Moresby and any other towns in Papua New Guinea. So we need to control these people or the children in order to bring the services to the people. Okay, this street vending, we the government are trying to control because it encourages children to get into the vending and their rights for education have been deprived from getting education. So one of the questions that I will give is that if we do not control them, what will happen to our country in 10 to 20 years' time? To add on to that note, the Minister for Education, Honorable James Marape, has stated in the National dated 15 that starting from 2013 onwards, there will be free education for children from elementary to grade 8, and half payment will be for the tertiary and secondary students. So therefore, we the government strongly and firmly believe that street vending should be controlled.
And that's the first speaker for the affirmative team from DeLaSalle Secondary School, Sid Pepsons. We now go to the opposing team, and I'd like to call now the first speaker. That's Kasi Uda. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Chairperson, adjudicators, the floor, and not forgetting Papua New Guineans who are watching through the media. I, as the first speaker of the constructive opposition, will introduce first of all my team debaters. My name is Tasi Uda, and I'll be talking about the social aspect. Second speaker, Diga, will be talking with me about the social aspect, but he will be more in details talking about practical alternatives solution. Before I go on to my points, I would like to rebut on the government what they have said. The government has say their point, and from their points, I can pick out one thing, the main idea from that they are blaming street vending, that this should control in order to make some changes or development or improvement. Well, to rebut, I will simply tell them that street vending is not the root of these social problems or any other problems we face. If you want to know why, then listen carefully to what we, the opposition, will say. To my points, Port Moresby is seen as haven for social woes. The root of problems is so many people in the city. That is the root of any other problems that we have. And if the government is saying this street vending is the root cause of some social problems like beggars in the street and traffic jams, and all these other problems. This is because people nowadays are struggling for survival. Overall, I am saying that street vending is a means of survival. And so we say that this should not be controlled because many lives depend on street vending. A classical example or a very clear example to make this government to open their minds and really understand that this street vending should not be controlled is that nowadays most of Papua New Guineans' parents in towns all over, their children's school fees are paid through street vending. Is that true? I'm not saying all. Some of you are rich. Some of you, us, are poor. So street vending is the one helping those poor fellows. Today we are facing this influx of people into the country. Influx of people into the cities, sorry. And who are these people causing this street vending? Well, it could be villages, and it could be beggars. This is because they want to survive. And our main solution is that the government must reenact vagrancy laws in order to control this influx of people into the city. Thank you.
That's the first speaker from the opposing school, Kwikila Secondary, Kasi Uda. And our topic of discussion is street vending should be controlled, and the affirmative team that supports this statement, DeLaSalle Secondary. The second speaker, I'm calling on Ciaro Melvin. Thank you, Ciaro. And Ciaro wants to be a computer engineer when he grows up one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, adjudicators, the opposition, and the audience. As you all know, I'll be speaking on the economical terms of the topic. But before I go on to my points, I would like to rebut on what the first speaker of the opposition has stated. He said that street vending is causing problems in the society. Well, and that's why we want to control it. Well, let me make it clear for you. We are not saying that street vending is causing problems in the society. We just want to control it. Because without order, there will be no progress in the society. And another point he said was people rely on street vending to pay for their child's school fee and to survive. But you are missing the point, opposition. We are not trying to stop street vending. We want to just control it and to maintain order in the city. And to my points, well, as we all know, street vendors do not pay tax to the government. And before I go on to that point, let me define tax for you. Tax is a compulsory payment paid by the working class people to the government for indirect services. Now, as we all know, most of PNG's citizens are unemployed and are resulting to street vending. Well, street vending, they don't pay tax. Now, the minority of us, the people who are working, when they pay tax, it will be not enough to help the government to bring goods and services to the people. Now, if we can control them, then we can make them to pay tax. And when they pay tax, just imagine, how many of them are not working, how many of them are street vendors, and when they pay tax, they will give more money to the government, and in return, the government will provide more basic services to us. My next point is the rubbish that are created by the street vendors. As you all know, most of the rubbish that we find in the city are caused by street vendors. Now, the NCDC is spending a lot of money into maintaining cleanliness of the city. If we control street vending, we will control where they throw their rubbish, and in return, NCDC will not spend much money on cleaning up rubbishes, and will provide more services to people. Now, my next point is tourism. As we all know, PNG is a beautiful country. Many of our people, many of the tourists, they come here to see our lands and our white sandy beaches. And as you all know, Port Moresby is the gateway to PNG. And what happens when they come down to Jackson's International Airport and they see street vendors loitering around the place and selling betel nut and causing rubbish? They will say, it doesn't state like this in the magazines where they read about PNG. Okay. To conclude, I would like to leave you all with a quote from Louis Pellman, a US business executive. It states, "You're not going to transform society until you transform business, but you're not going to transform business by pretending it is not business." Now, as we all know, PNG is a transforming society. In order for us to make change, we need order. And street vending is a form of business. Don't take it as it's not a form of business. It is a form of business. And if we maintain order in street vending, it will pave a way for us to change the society into a better one. And therefore, I hope I convince you that street vending should be controlled.
Thank you very much. The second speaker from the affirmative team, that's from DeLaSalle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, the educators, the audience, and not forgetting the citizens of Papua New Guinea who are watching through the media. Okay, before going into my points, I, as the second speaker of the opposition side, would like to rebut on what the fellow government has said. Okay, they have said that street vending is a contributing factor in increase of disposal of rubbish. But they have said that it's a business factor again. Okay. Street vending, it's a business factor. Yes, we know that. It helps the families who are not that, they do not have that beneficial enough to cater for their family. Okay. They have said that it's a disposal of rubbish, excessive to rubbish. Okay, these street vendors, when they sell things, they also provide a place to dispose rubbish. Example, when you go to the market out there at IBS school gate down there, there's a rubbish box beside the table, right? Okay, back to my point. We the government, opposition, strongly urge that street vending is not the answer to the problems of the towns and streets of Papua New Guinea. Because the government can come up with a vagrancy act which can help these people who contribute to urban drift, that again contributes to overpopulation, that can help them to provide easy and cheaper transport for them to return home to their places again. Okay, let me give you a classical example, ladies and gentlemen. Wabga bought a ship, now that is called the MV Millen Bay. In that time, when that ship was operating, it was at an affordable cost, which helped that, those Wabga people to transport their cash crops to and from in order for them to end their daily living. But currently, that ship is no longer existing. Why? Because the national government, their act of greediness, they sold that ship out. Okay, from there, the airlines PNG and Air New Guinea are now the major transport systems which can be used for these people to transport back again. But now, our friends in the islands, when they come down to Port Moresby, because they find it that the fares and the rates of our airlines and Air New Guinea's rates are too expensive for them to purchase a ticket, so they end up in the streets of Port Moresby, roaming around doing nothing. Okay, therefore, with a constructive opposition side strongly arguing that the street vending is not the answer to the problems of the towns and streets of Papua New Guinea. If government are saying so, then in the end, the families will then go out hungry in the evening without eating anything. Thank you very much.
And that's the second speaker from the team that's going against the topic, street vending should be controlled. Thank you very much to DeLaSalle. I'd like to call now the third speaker from the affirmative team from DeLaSalle Secondary, Alexander Lee. And Alexander, I would like to become a mining engineer one day. Good on you.
Welcome everyone, adjudicators. As mentioned by as the first speaker, I am the third speaker, and I'll be talking about the social perspectives and strategies on how we can control street vending. Before I'd like to proceed with my points, I would like to rebut on what the second speaker of the opposition said. Unfortunately, I cannot make a rebut because his points are out of topic. We don't understand what you're saying. You're not getting to the topic. Maybe after I say my points, then you'll understand. All right, to my first point, I would like to ask every one of you out there, is prostitution part of street vending? Yes, it is, because street vending provides a service in order to get money, and prostitution also provides a service to get money. So if street vending is not controlled, then prostitution will not be controlled, and if it's not controlled, then it's going to be out of control, and if it's out of control, then diseases will start to spread. Diseases like STD diseases, sexually transmitted diseases, gonorrhea, syphilis, AIDS, genital herpes, Donovanosis, all these diseases, they will spread. But then you might ask, okay, so what is the government going to do about these prostitutes? What are they, is the government doing anything about them? About, what is prostitution? Prostitutes are sex workers. So, yes, the government is doing something about it, but then you can say maybe they're not educated enough to go out there and look for a job to sustain their family and what. But then there's more to it. I mean, government's providing sporting programs for them to take part, like netball, soccer, rugby. There's more vocational centers out there for you to go out and, there's the flexible open and distance education. You can go out with your marks and get into a school. Women in business organizations provided by Janet Sape. Also, the Mary Safe House projects and Yumi Lukati Mosby projects. Simply, ladies, there's more to it than prostitution. There's a lot out there. Back to my next point, littering and proper sanitation. Okay, approximately 87.5% of rubbish around us is betel nut skins and spits. And then you see, it's around you and it gives a negative image, you can say it's visual pollution. People see it and it just lowers the morale. So you as a street vendor, the rubbish bin is right there, but you threw boy and you throw it and you spit outside. It's your initiative to throw your rubbish in the bin. And the rubbish bin is provided there for you. To my other point, children being exposed to street vending. Nowadays, Gordon's Market, Nine Man Market, Holland Market, you see a lot of small kids selling cigarettes and, a lot of illicit items, like drugs. I've seen it, so I know. So it is against their right to do that. Also, parents selling their children. A couple of years ago, it came on this magazine article, the newspaper, that there was this baby being sold. It is against the child's right to be sold. It's the parents' responsibility to look after their child. Am I right? It's me right there. To my last point, more and more people are pointing to the city. Why? Because they think the rural societies or rural areas, the crops or the products that they sell, it doesn't meet up to the cost of living. But then, if you just pause and think about a moment, 97% of Papua New Guinea is owned by landowners, and 3% of it is owned by the government. So there's a lot of land area there for you to cultivate land. So to conclude, I must really say, we, the affirmative team, strongly and firmly believe that street vending should be controlled.
And thank you very much to Alexander Lee from the affirmative team, DeLaSalle Secondary. I'd like to call now the third speaker, Lydia Eves from Kwikila Secondary School to come and do her presentation. That's the number 3 speaker for the negative team.
Thank you, Chairperson, adjudicators, and the audience out there. As mentioned by my first speaker, I am Lydia Evers, the third speaker of the opposition. I'll be talking on the economical aspect of this. Before I do so, I would like to rebut on what the third speaker of the affirmative have said. He said that rather than street vending, students should be sent to vocational centers. Okay, there is no money for students to go to the vocational centers. There is no money for them to go to the vocational centers. So street vending is one of the ways in which they will it will help them to have money to pay their school fees. You said something about STIs. STIs is caused by sex workers not using their initiative and going out and doing things unnecessarily. Street vending is about selling of goods and not gonorrhea, syphilis, and all those. You also said something about responsibility of vendors. Vendors are doing their responsibility. They are putting a box for consumers to buy things and put the rubbish in the correct place. As the second speaker has mentioned, out there is a rubbish box there for you to go and put your rubbish inside. Now, moving on to my points. The topic is street vending should be controlled. We the opposition are going against this. Street vending should not be controlled because on the economical aspect of this, we see that there are many ways in which it contributes to boost our economy. Firstly, form of employment. Many people living in the cities are not employed. So street vending is an opportunity for them. They sell goods in the streets and get money to help them in the survival in the city. The government employs only 30% of the people, and 70% are not employed. They are employed some are employed as street vendors, in which this helps them. For example, the flex card resellers. Flex card resellers buy flex card from licensed retail outlets and sell them in the public, which is convenient for us. Rather than we going to the shops and buying them, it will waste a lot of time. Secondly, reduce pressure on the family breadwinner, or in other words, 1% employed. In many families, there is only one breadwinner, and the salary wage of this breadwinner is not enough to cater for all the necessary needs of the family. So the other family members are employed as street vendors to help support and reduce the pressure on the breadwinner of that family. For example, one classic example is next to the IBS gate. There's High Covenant House inside, and outside there's a lot of tables there. There's street vending outside to help support the breadwinner of the family. Thirdly is the price. The price compared to those in a licensed retail outlet is much more cheaper and affordable for the general public. Prices of the goods in a licensed retailer outlet is much more expensive, and the general public cannot afford. A classic example is a can of Coca-Cola. A can of Coca-Cola in a licensed retailer outlet is 2.80 toya, whereas compared to one sold in the street is only 2 kina, which you see there's a big difference in it in there. Therefore, as the responsible opposition, we would like to recommend that there are other alternatives to control the problem. It should not be controlled because controlling it is like solving a problem at the branches and not the roots. Therefore, we, the constructive opposition, would like to recommend that the government should reenact the Vagrancy Act for the betterment of its people. The first, constructive opposition, and looking at the economical aspect of this, we would like to say that the government should establish very practical alternatives, practical projects such as honey making, fish ponds, soap industry, and farming in general. In this way, we are boosting our economy, and the problems will automatically drop by itself. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's the third speaker, Lydia Eves from Kwikila Secondary, the team that's going against the topic, street vending should be controlled. Well, the final speaker, 10 minutes from DeLaSalle Secondary to convince the team, the adjudicators, that they are for street vending to be controlled. David Allen, who wants to be a journalist one day.
Once again, good afternoon to all. Thank you, Master of the Ceremony. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the judges, timekeeper, fellow debaters, and the contestants too, and you, the lovely audience. Well, okay. Let me proceed on. Well, street vending. Let me take you to our Jackson's Airport. You know, if you go to the Jackson's Airport, you will see people selling betel nut there. And let me tell you, selling betel nut is part of street vending. Okay, let me rebut on what the opposition has mentioned. Well, there are a couple of things you've mentioned. Well, school fees. I mean, from reality, I believe that, yes, some parents do make their ends meet, their school fees out of street vending. But apart from street vending, there are other areas where you can use to make money. The other areas. And one thing that you mentioned about population, people coming into urban areas. Okay, you know, the question is, it is your free will to come into urban areas. Your free will. God has given you a willpower to choose. If you see right now that there is more land in our rural areas, am I right, audience? Sure. We have a lot of land in the rural areas. We have much potential in agriculture. I believe, you know, in history, if you see in history, you know, Papua New Guineans were the first people who introduced agriculture before the Europeans. Okay? In the highlands, highlanders were people who did gardens. You see? So there are other places we have the potential. Okay. Okay. Let me summarize what my team has spoken to of. Well, on the political perspective, let me tell you an extract, a statement from one of the Western political philosophers from his book, Political Theory, the third edition. His name is Andrew Hayward. He stated that, I quote, "Politics is regarded as an essential public activity centered upon the state. It will always have a cohesive character. This means state has the power to compel the obedience of citizens. Private life is a realm of choice, freedom, and individual responsibility." Tell me, are the street vendors exercising individual responsibility? No. You see, every morning, from my own experience, when I stand at the Gero bus stop is full of betel nut stains, betel nut skins all over the place. And you know, the fact is that street vendors are right there at the bus stop. And do you think street vending should take place in bus stops? No. It is an inappropriate area, and that is what we are trying to control. We are trying to control it so that there is more convenience for the people. Okay? There is more conveniency. Okay, let me state about tourism. You see, Fiji is making a lot of money out of tourism. Why can't we, Papua New Guinea? We have the best environment. God has given us everything, the natural resources, the beauty. Everything is there. But when the tourists come and they see our airport, you know, the gateway, when a tourist drives from the airport, the tourist goes from the airport to Erima, from Erima to Godens. And guess what? When you look at Erima, there are a lot of street vendors there, and there's a lot of rubbish. And to be honest, when I travel from Godens up to Bomana, it's a shameful thing, you know. It's a shameful thing for me to see a lot of rubbish. It all comes back to responsibility. Are we exercising individual responsibility? Okay. Well, now let me tell you. I want to put on my points. I will base on a spiritual perspective. We, Papua New Guinea, we call ourselves a Christian country. You see, Muslims, they live up to what their book, their Quran tells them to do. And we as Christians, we have the Bible. And you know, God is a God of order. God is a God of order. Cleanliness is close to godliness. Okay? Okay? And also, in the political philosopher Andrew Hayward, he stated that, you know, disorder in a nation or in politics, in any social life, is a very disorder. Sorry, pardon me. Disorder is a very important aspect where when people are not controlled, there will be social unrest, there will be confusion. You know, he stated. Andrew Hayward stated, I quote, he stated that, you know, sorry, pardon me, my apologies, we usually stand in front of boys. So, let me tell you, sorry, I just remembered my quote. Well, you know, he stated that, I quote, "Human beings are naturally corrupted, and if they are not controlled or restrained, they will go to an extent of bathing uncivilizedly in an unfashioned way. I will give you an example. Last week, there was a sewage break just right next to 10 Trading, and while boy sellers were vending just beside us, that sewage break, and sewage smell. Just imagine, coming back to my statement, people are behaving like, not like humans. We should be behaving like humans. Therefore, we must put a stop, not a stop, but control street vending. Okay, as I move on, let me tell you one fact. Coming back to the spiritual perspective, are we living up to our spiritual perspective? Are we living up as Christians? As I mentioned earlier on, God is a God of order, and cleanliness is close to godliness. Well, in the Bible, it tells us the story of Jesus. He went into the temple and he saw people vending in the temple. You see, people vending in the temple, it is not right. The Bible also says that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Is it true? And whatever that is inside us, it will come out. So it all comes back to attitude. Is our attitude right? We have to address this issue. I believe that every one of you will agree with me that we Papua New Guineans, we need to address our attitude. It is very important. Okay? So therefore, in everything, there must be control. There must be order. There must be order. We say we are Christians, but I think that we're not living up as Christians. Honestly, from my heart, I see that some of us, we don't live as Christians. Okay? So, one fact about our political constitution, it is deprived from the church law. It is deprived from the church law. It is based upon the word of God. It is based upon the Bible, which is the foundation of all knowledge. The Bible says that the beginning of wisdom is the fear of God. When you fear God, there is order. There is order. And the government have been predestined by God. Every time when our parliamentarians, they go into the parliament, they put their hand on the Bible and they swear. And by God, they swear they will save their country. And that is what the government is trying to do to control this. Anything that we do, it is because of God. Our prayers say, our motto, our team motto for our school says, for God and country. I believe that we should be living up for our God and for our country. Therefore, I strongly believe that street vending should be controlled. Okay, now, let me state my recommendations on how to control the street vending. Well, first of all, as you can see, as I've mentioned, you can see people are not vending in appropriate areas, such as bus stops, mainly bus stops. So our recommendation is that the government should create, especially in the cities. Now, as you can see, vending is a problem. Street vending is becoming a problem. People are finding it very difficult to control street vending. But therefore, I would like to put this recommendation that the government will create street vending free areas in the cities, such as bus stops and alongside main roads and our airports. Those are the main places where we need to control street vending. Okay, my second recommendation in relating to the first one, with our growing technology in this country, with the help of DeLaSalle, Dalton, and any other computing companies, we can set up digital cameras in the place where street vending free areas are being put. So in order for us to monitor street vending, to my last recommendation, that we should fund institutions, companies such as G4S and the BSP company to create city ranges. I believe that city ranges is part of our NCD, but it has to become a fully employed institution so that it can create job opportunities for young men, for grade 10 leavers and grade 12 leavers, so that they can be trained to control street vending. And therefore, I strongly believe that street vending must be controlled. Thank you.
I just made it in time. Luckily, all the male presenters have finished, so no more girls going to be clapping now. So we're going to see the final member from the 2010 winning school, Kwikila, to come up and for the next 10 minutes try to convince the adjudicators that the topic street vending should be controlled. They are totally against it. So let's see whether she can pull this through. It's Angeline Orea. Thank you very much. Please give her a big hand.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, the adjudicators, audience, and the government of the day. I, as the last speaker of the opposition, would like to rebut on the points made by the government. The first speaker mentioned that freedom is limited, and he mentioned something about going to school. School children are hanging out on the streets vending. Well, if he reads carefully the book titled The Law Awareness for Papua New Guinea, under the Constitution, it is Papua New Guineans' freedom whether to go to school or not. Second point, to rebut on what the second speaker of the government has mentioned. He mentioned economically that the street vendors don't pay tax. Well, I think he must be blind because street vendors buy from big shops and wholesales and resell. And when they get from the shops, that is just the goods and services tax, economically speaking. The second speaker also mentioned about excessive rubbish and poor sanitation. If you look at vending areas, the vendors don't create rubbish. It's the consumers. If rubbish bins are provided there, the consumers should dispose the rubbish thoughtfully. We can't blame street vending because street vending is not the cause of excessive rubbish. And again, a rebuttal for the third speaker of the government. He mentioned about STIs. I think he's not a science student because STIs, sexually transmitted infections, are transmitted or acquired through sex and not street vending. If you sell betel nut, you don't get gonorrhea by serving a customer selling betel nut. Now, straight to my point. Politically speaking, ladies and gentlemen, the government is obliged to serve and protect its citizens. Therefore, the laws enacted by the government, by the national constitution, must be in the best national interest of the people, right? That brings me to say that street vending is a form of employment for the unemployed. Employment for villagers, village people, unfortunate people like widowers, widows, orphans, and most importantly, for people like us who have been dropped out by the education system, right? And when we drop out from the education system, all we have to do is turn to street vending because that's only the form of employment. It is our imposed duty by the national constitution to use our knowledge, skills, and talent to create our employment. Quoting from the book, A Law Awareness for Papua New Guinea, written by lawyer Stanley Cooley. Currently, unemployment is on the rise as a result of no job offers for students after working tirelessly and with great effort. So what they do is turn to street vending, and street vending should not be controlled. I don't want street vending to be controlled because once it's controlled, when it's restricted to a main market, there is greater competition. And if there is greater competition, common sense is there. You see that too many things to buy and there are less customers. So all you have to do is just let street vending go, let it be uncontrolled, vend anywhere you wish to overcome competition and money and make a living self-reliantly. More realistically, street vending is a means of survival for most families or households today. For example, a mother sits at the bus stop selling betel nuts and smoke. The income is used to buy food for her family, to put something on the table, bus fares for her children to go to school, and also for other necessities. That brings me to say that security is important. You see that it's equal, males and females vend. So a females vend, they think of their security because a woman wouldn't want to go to a place such as the government-appointed 9 Mile Market to be the market for betel nut sales. Now, if you look at 9 Mile Market, they have a lot of pickpockets there. And if she is robbed, what do you think she's going to put on her table? Nothing. Because that money she gains from street vending is supposed to put something on the table for her children. So if she is robbed, no money, no food. Therefore, with a responsible opposition would like to say that street vending should not be controlled to a main market, but vendors can vend anywhere. Now, speaking economically, the street vending also contributes to the income tax of the government through goods and services tax. That is when vendors buy products from the big shops and resell. If it is controlled or minimized and restricted to a main market, the income tax of the government will decrease as a result of buying of less products, which means low GST. So why should we control street vending? Just let it be. The sales of betel nuts and smokes, as mentioned by my third speaker, is also an added value to the gross domestic product value of our country. Therefore, street vending should not be controlled. If it is controlled, there will be a drop in the value of the GDP of our country. That is due to the fact that betel nut is a product that is now commonly known as Papua New Guinea's green gold. Gold has greater value, so if betel nut is known as a green gold, it has a greater value, and so it will boost our GDP. We, the wise opposition, propose that street vending should not be controlled. As my first speaker has mentioned earlier, the cause of problems arising is not street vending. A classical example of problems such as ethnic clashes is not caused by street vending. These ethnic clashes occur as a result of urban drift. This urban drift has caused an influx of people in Port Moresby. The overcrowding of people has caused ethnic clashes. That is because when a fight occurs, you see that vendors pack up their goods and leave. They don't join in the fight, because if they join in the fight, they lose their goods, and you wouldn't want to be a loser, right? Therefore, we, the responsible opposition, believe and propose that repatriation of these people back to their homelands is a wise alternative that should be considered by the narrow-minded government of the day. And that is to say that the government has to reenact the Vagrancy Act. Now, to my recommendations, we, the constructive opposition, would like to recommend that dual salary system should be abolished, because we have all public servants. Some are highly paid, while some are, well, just paid the amount they get. Okay, their wives, for example, a teacher, his wife sells outside his house. And the money she earns from that vending is helping her family, because 2 weeks is too long to wait for her husband's fortnight. And therefore, a measure could be taken by the government is that the dual salary system should be abolished. And we also recommend that the government reenact the Vagrancy Act and repatriate people whom they think are not supposed to be in Port Moresby and they think that are vending. That's all from me, and I hope I convinced you all.
All right. Thank you very much. And Angeline Orea, the final speaker from the team that's going against the topic, street vending should be controlled. And that brings us to the end of this round. For now, please give a big hand to the participating teams. From Kwikila, DeLaSalle, Kasi Uda, Angeline Orea, and Lydia Eves. Thank you very much. You may leave the stage. And of course, the DeLaSalle team, Sid Babson, Sierra Nova, Alexander Lee, and David Allen. Please give them a big hand.
Welcome to the world of rhythm. And this is the new #1.